Why don't you have a seat? This program illustrates some of this new work, showing new techniques for treating what I've called normative male alexithymia, which I define as the inability that many men have as a result of traditional gender role socialization to know much of what they're feeling and to put those feelings into words. This inability is fairly widespread and stands as a major obstacle preventing many men from effectively utilizing psychotherapy. So why don't you tell me why it is that you've come here to see me?
I've come basically to find out why I don't feel a whole lot right now while my wife is pregnant and having a baby. And she feels it's unusual that I, her husband, is not excited about having a baby.
What is your wife's name?
Caroline.
Caroline.
It's not that I don't want the baby. That's not the case at all. It's a case where we've agreed to have a child. We're going to have one, and I don't feel a whole lot, which I'm not even sure that's a problem. But she feels it's unusual, and she even said she pushes my button when she says it reminds me of your father, because that gets and.
What is it about that that pushes your button?
The fact that when my wife makes that kind of a comparison, it's usually, my father was a good man in a lot of ways, but there are certain traits that I don't want to repeat because it didn't feel that good being on the receiving end of that, and I don't want to do that.
What kind of traits?
Distant, maybe a little bit aloof, maybe. So when I'm not showing that much excitement about the birth of the child, my wife thinks, well, you're just like your dad because uninvolved in some way.
Yeah.
And that's.
And how do you feel about that?
Obviously it bothers me on some level because I'm here. When she said that, I don't want to be that way.
You don't want to be that way?
No, I do not want to be that way.
All right. I'm not concerned about whether Caroline's view is correct or not, but rather with how Raymond feels about the situation.
So I wonder, is that the way I am? Because I don't feel anything. And she's pointing out that it's unusual, that I should be excited, that her friends' husbands are excited. So it just made me think, you know, am I following in my father's footsteps?
Note the slip. Raymond says fathering instead of following. This may indicate his anxiety about himself as a father-to-be, or his feelings about his own father. I think I get it. Let me just see if I understand it. Is that this is not unusual for you not to feel very much, but as your wife points out, this is sort of like the way your father was, and there's something in you that for which that just doesn't sit right. But you're not sure exactly what you can do about it because on the one hand, this is you. Is that kind of how it feels? This is a summarizing statement used to check if I'm on track with the client and also to set the stage for the next step in the assessment.
Essentially, that's it. I mean, should I feel more? Why don't I feel more? That's essentially it.
All right. Well, let's look at sort of just how you do experience emotions. Maybe that's a good place to start. In initial interviews with men like Raymond, I attempt to assess their ability to experience emotions. I follow a particular protocol in which I inquire about their experience of different categories of emotions and their awareness of discrete emotions.
I'm not one to fly off the handle. I get angry here and there, but essentially, I'm not an emotional guy. I'm not nearly as emotional as she is. And that's just the way I am.
Yeah. Well, you do get angry from time to time. What are the circumstances under which you tend to get angry?
Sometimes it's little things. Sometimes it's a mix-up at work, traffic, things that upset you. Annoyances. There's a lot of little annoyances in life, and this isn't an everyday thing, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like I'm getting set off every day.
Oh, I understand that.
But at times I lose it.
And how do you lose it? What happens when you get really angry?
I I mostly keep it in. I don't hit people.
Uh-huh.
I don't throw things. I don't, I just know I'm angry.
You know you're
And
angry, but you don't express it outward.
I might get a headache.
Uh-huh.
I might feel
Uh-huh.
tense. I may feel a little tension, but I don't, and I may yell once in a while, but that's really not my style. I would say in general,
All right, we've been talking about anger. Let's explore some other emotions. Do you often feel the feeling of sadness when appropriate?
I don't have time. I don't have time to feel sad. I mean, life is what it is.
Uh-huh. I'm not sure exactly I understand what you mean. In other words, there's just too much to take care of. You can't dwell on things that don't go right. Is that what you mean?
I'd say that's essentially it. I don't know that, I guess sometimes I feel bad about things, but in general, I haven't had any recent tragedies. It's not that I've had to sit down and feel sad for a while. That's not, I mean,
Okay. What about fear? Or in its various forms, like apprehension or worry or...
apprehension.
Yeah.
Did I tell my client the right thing? Did I give them good advice? Are they second guessing me? I second guess. So it's kind of an apprehension. It's kind of, I'm in a job that I'm dealing with people's finances. I'm dealing with people's fortune in some cases. I'm dealing with their futures.
Okay. Well, continuing along with different emotions, let's turn to the positive spectrum. What about joy? Do you experience feelings of joy or exuberation?
I'm happy. Good things happen, I guess. You know, a good day at work, I guess. I'm trying to think. Joy. I'm trying to think the last time I was ecstatic. I don't know.
Okay.
You know.
It's hard to remember.
Yeah, but
It's
I'm
not-
not walking around down in the dumps. It's
Yeah.
just that I'm not jumping around for joy.
Yeah, okay. Let's go back to a statement you made earlier. When we were talking about anger, you said that you experience headaches. Could you tell me a little bit more about that?
I guess I feel tense. I often feel a tension in the shoulders, and then I've got a headache. And sometimes it's intense. It's intensely, but I know where it comes from. I'm under pressure. I have a lot of things on my mind, and it's just that it's part of my life. And
Part of how you respond to stress?
it's one of the results.
Yeah, okay. Well, now, you're under a lot of stress.
Yes.
Do you experience any other kind of bodily sensations or symptoms when you're particularly stressed out?
The usual upset stomach, maybe a little tightness.
Is tightness in your stomach or elsewhere?
More shoulders.
Now, in the midst of this, we're talking about some specific feelings like apprehension or anger and such. Do you find that you have an ability to sort of readily identify the exact emotion that you're feeling?
Pressure.
Pressure. Okay.
Yeah.
Most of the time that is what
Yeah.
you're feeling.
You know, things are building up, and I have 6 different things to do at the same time. So I'm feeling tense.
Yeah, tense.
Tense.
Okay. Now, sometimes it sort of helps to sort of put one's feelings into words. Do you tend to do that? Do you tend to try to put your feelings into words?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Well, if you're
I go up
feeling
to-
tense, to say, if only to yourself, boy, I'm really feeling tense about whatever it is that you're feeling tense about.
I don't think I would, unless I was telling somebody.
The assessment reveals that Raymond tends to experience a lot of tension and pressure, which may be the result of emotions that he is having, but he tends not to express it.
You know, I got a headache, or
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Yeah. You wouldn't attempt to put them into words.
No,
Okay.
I feel what I feel.
All right, okay. Raymond exhibits signs of normative male alexithymia, the inability to express one's own emotions that many men develop as a result of the male emotion socialization process. Interview is kind of get also a sense of your family history in order to just better understand you as a person. So tell me a little bit about your marriage. So you've been married now how long?
15 years.
15 years. And why is it that you waited so long to have a child?
The time was never right, in the sense that I used to be an insurance adjuster for a large firm, and I moved a lot. So we'd be a couple of years in one place and then a year here, and we didn't feel it was time to start a family when I was that unsettled.
Sometimes, people postpone having a child because they're not sure of the stability of their marriage. Was that ever an issue for you and your wife?
I think we have a pretty good marriage as far as marriages go. We have our disagreements, but I'd say it's pretty solid. It's lasted 15 years.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere.
In this day and age, that's an heroic achievement.
So I don't think that would be a key factor.
Now, during all these years of moves and such, Caroline was working?
Pretty much. I mean, she's not in the kind of business I'm in, but she's always had some kind of job.
Okay. So she would, when an opportunity to move came along, it would be in response to a change in your situation rather than hers?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So she would follow along, like if you got a new job or something, or relocated, or whatever the case might have been.
Sure. Yeah, I'm the breadwinner, so to speak.
Right, okay. Though she does work, you earn much more of the family income.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I'm going to ask you a little bit about the family that you grew up in. Are your parents still alive?
My mother.
Raymond has younger twin sisters, one of whom is divorced with a handicapped child. His mother is alive, in good health, and lives nearby. His father died of a heart attack in his late 60s.
I take care of my family, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah, as well you should be. Well, let's talk about what we're going to do. Basically, you're coming here because you're about to start a family, and you're not feeling a lot. And while you're not sure that that's such a problem, you're willing to look at it.
Is it a problem? Or you tell me.
Well, it is and it isn't. I mean, it isn't because a lot of us men are basically like you. We don't feel very much. We basically do what we have to do. We take the responsibility for our families and we carry it out. And if we had to stop and think about every little nuance of what we're feeling, we probably wouldn't get our jobs done. But on the other hand, the world is changing. And men's roles are changing and family roles are changing. And there's more there for us men than we realize. And there's a lot for us, there's a lot to be gained in starting to open up our hearts a bit and become more aware of the emotions that we're feeling. Now, from talking to you, I get the sense that that there are a lot of little emotions that are going on inside of you that you're not aware of that finally make their appearance as stress or sometimes as anger. And that as a result of this, you sometimes get headaches, you sometimes get gastrointestinal upset, and sometimes you get tension in your shoulders and your neck. The process we're going to undergo will help you begin to develop the skills to become aware of those little emotions as they're happening. And more than that, to put them into words. And to see if that doesn't allow you to open up your heart to experience more of what's happening with your family.
So what you're saying is that I'm going to use that phrase, get in touch with my feelings, or I like the idea that you say I'm going to open up and feel better.
Yeah.
If that's possible, I like that idea. I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to do that,
Yeah.
but
It's not so much a matter of opening up as it is of learning skills, something I think that's probably very comfortable to you. I mean, I think along the way you've picked up many, many different skills. And what essentially we'll be doing is you'll be learning a set of emotional skills. My mini lecture here begins the process of psychoeducation, a combination of didactic teaching and skills training.
and you're saying I didn't pick these up in my life. In other words, this is something I missed?
This is something that most men missed, that the way our generation grew up, and I think this is starting to change, it was thought that boys should be prepared to be emotionally stoic, to be aggressive, to really, to not be crybabies and to not be fearful. And as a result, we were basically given a lot of messages to not attend to those emotions. Big boys don't cry, or I don't know if you were an athlete or not, but coaches used to say, learn to play with pain. So as a result, and this just isn't just you, but this is really a lot of men, we grew up to be men who really are genuinely unaware of what it is that we're feeling. We know we're feeling something because we see it in other forms. We get a headache, or we get angry, or the like. So we're going to look at, basically what we're going to do, Raymond, is we're going to kind of go back and pick up the skills that 9-year-old girls learn as a matter of course.
And that's a good thing, I guess.
After normalizing Raymond's difficulty in experiencing emotions and giving him a context for thinking about developing emotional self-awareness, I introduced the concept of developing psychological skills.
How long does something like this take? Is this something that I get the skills, I learn them, I apply them, and I say goodbye to you, or what are we looking at here?
Well, it's hard to say. You know, therapy is a little bit of more of an art in some ways than a science. Ballpark, I would say we're probably talking about somewhere around 6 months, plus or minus a couple. You know, we're just going to have to see how it goes. But we'll start with the skills, and that'll probably take us, 4 or 6 weeks, something like that, and then we'll see what happens.
Okay, I like the idea.
Let's start off by, looking at your emotional vocabulary. Most of us men, not being schooled in the arts of emotion, actually have rather limited vocabulary for emotion words. So what I'd like you to do during the course of the week is to try to write down as many words as you can think of for emotions, for different emotions. We've talked about some of them here today. We talked about fear, apprehension, anger, sadness, joy. So I'd like you during the course of the week just to kind of, whenever you're thinking about it, try to think of as many words as you possibly can for emotions and bring that in next week.
Just any word I think of that applies to emotion.
That describes emotion.
Describes an emotion.
Yeah. Is that okay?
Sure.
All right.
I mean, I don't know that there's a whole lot of them, and I'm a fairly articulate guy, but whatever comes up, I'll write it down.
Okay, very good. All right.
You want a certain number by the end of the week, or?
Well, I'll leave that up to you.
Okay.
As many as you can come up with. We've begun the first step of the 4-step psychoeducational program, in which the client is given the homework assignment to develop his emotional vocabulary.